model is there. Okay. Basically, first step comes in the mathematical model is observation. Observations. Okay. Once you have an observation, what kind of an observation you can decide. First is a behavioral observation. Behavioral observation means you are going to check out how that things is going to change. म्हणजे with respect to time, may I will say it is in a temperature. How that temperature is going to change. With respect to time, I can have a displacement. With respect to time, I may have a property like a stress or something. Okay. So likewise, I can identify two things. One is this is one parameter and this is another parameter. These are two parameters. This parameter is called as an independent parameter. What it is called? Independent. Why? Because you cannot stop that time. And this time doesn't depend on anything. It is linearly increasing. The same way, this t, this is the time is one parameter. Another is your x, y, z as in three spatial coordinates. In coordinates. So these are also called as an independent parameters. And these are called as a dependent parameter. Okay? Means it is depend on something. Depend on what? Independent parameter. Now, I want to put up this in terms of some y or function of time. That is what. Or I can write in a y is equal to function of x, y, z, time. Like this. So this becomes an equation. What is the use of this equation? This equation can be used for prediction purpose. Prediction purpose means I know at this time is equal to 0. My position is some maybe a 10 mm something, and your curve is something varying like this. I can now quite easily predict what will be my position next instant, or next maybe 1 minute or something. So for that purpose, we can use you need to define such equation. This is one way. Another one, you want to get into detail of it. Detail means if I have a SAM system just like block, it is fixed here. I put up a hole onto this, and I'm applying force at this location. Okay. So what will happen? The stress will be not everywhere it will be same, because the section is not prismatic. Prismatic means it is uniform section. Means if I take an area at this location and this location, each and every location the area is same. That is what a section is called as a prismatic section. If you can observe, there is a hole. That's what there is no uniformity in the area of resistance mentioned. Okay, so that's what it is a non-prismatic section. So when you are going to apply the force, what will happen? Obviously, the stress at this location will be the same. But after this, the sudden change in the stress you can observe. So you want to see how much amount of stress is increasing and what is the reason for it. Now I can put up one thing. I will now have this is my D diameter, this is my width. Okay, I will now have a W by D ratio. This is W by D ratio and maximum stress I will determine, and then I will try to correlate these things. If I have a W by D ratio is 1 or less than 1 or something, so what will be my stress value? And based on that, I will now predict, okay, then later on I can determine stress concentration. So these are the ways for which it is used mathematical equations. And that's what this mathematical modeling is important. Is it clear? Okay. So what we are going to look at it. So why mathematical modeling? So need means we want to go into the depth of what are the behavior. We want to understand the physical phenomena of it. For that purpose, this mathematical modeling is used. Another one, what is the procedure? Because it is set procedure. Just imagine the people who are doing this work when they don't know about the method, differential equation or anything. So that time they may have faced a lot of difficulties. But later on, these tools have helped us lot many places. means we can quite easily simulate anything. If this fan is rotating, okay, so obviously we can simulate this entire fan. But previous days, this is not possible. This was totally impossible because we don't know the behavior of it. We can't put these things into the equations. So that is what the 1, 2, 3. These are the steps through which we need to work out. That is the steps we are going to work out. And then different approaches of the modeling. Then what are the transfer functions, and these things we'll discuss it. Okay. So basically, when you look at a mathematical model means it is a representation of behavior of system in terms of a mathematical equation. That is what it is called as a mathematical model. What it is? It is a representation of behavior or observations in terms of a mathematical equation called as a mathematical model. Okay, it is represented in mathematical equation. This mathematical equation may be your algebraic equation, okay, maybe your differential equation, maybe integral equations, or most of the phenomena in the world is represented within a differential equation. Okay, differential equation. That's what it is most important tool in the mathematics is differential equation. That's what we face. We seen this mathematical differential equation from 11th standard to everywhere. Okay, from 11th standard, all the places we observe this differential equation, differential equation. This is the reason. What is the use? It is used for simulation purpose. Simulation means we are going to do this calculations, or you want to now observe it on computer, not in practicals. That's what it is called as a simulation. We want to predict or forecast. Prediction forecasting means if I create a model of entire universe or entire Earth, I can now predict when the rain is going to happen, when there will be a storm. All these things I can quite easily predict it, but all the parameters we don't know. That's the reason our prediction fails in most of the time. So that's what it is. It can be used for prediction purpose, forecasting purpose. Even this forecasting is mostly used in financial cases. Okay, you know the share market and everything. And some people have a perfect judgment when the peak will come, when the dip will come, and based on that they will invest and they will get the benefit of it. And some people can't understand that particular behavior. Huh? So then they will fail. So that is what it is used for forecasting. And then third is a prognostic and diagnostic. Diagnostic means if you might have observed one thing when you are driving in a two-wheeler or four-wheeler, you know the observations, you know the feelings of your car or two-wheeler. Okay. So what will happen? So when something is going wrong, if I am going to drive in a vehicle, then right left side air in the tire air has gone out. Then what will happen? If it is punctured, my steering will move to the left side most of the time. So these are nothing but a diagnostic feeling. And if I feel that diagnostic, obviously I need to stop the car and then I have to just observe it and I have to rectify it. So for that purpose, a typical diagnostic, and this diagnostic can be used for health operations, medical applications, and automobile applications. So many places you can have it. Then you can also want to design new things. Okay, so for that purpose also you can use mathematical modeling, and then also obviously control system design and so many places also. Okay, mathematics, it is nothing but a study and development of methods for prediction. This is one definition. So it is aimed to find useful and variable description and explanation about typical phenomena in this universe. Then also modeling is used for as a tool to explain and have some predictions based in the nature. Then also it will be used for some time in biological issues. So in corona pandemic we observed there is this curve we have observed. Now the second peak is moving on like this. So we can go on predicting what will be the point at this point. So now I can approximately trace out like this, and I can say, okay, this much amount of patients will be there at this day. Then what is my facilities available for business. Then accordingly, I can create more hospitals. I can create so many other stuffs. So likewise, we can predict and we can plan our life. Okay. So that is what in a way we can plan. So it is in a simple. I'll just skip this. Okay. So basically, when we look at an analytical and simulation, what does that analytical means? What is meant by simulation? There is a very small difference. Okay? Small difference means analytical means you have some bar. Okay, this is my bar. I apply the force onto this. Okay, this is force, and I'm going to determine what will be the deformation and stresses in this area. Okay, so I can put this stress is directly proportional to strain, and I can have an F upon A, then E into delta upon L. Okay, I can have a delta is equal to what will be the formula for this? FL divided by A. Okay, so this is delta is now depends on my force. Okay, depends on length, depends on area, depends on Young's modulus. Out of which are the constants? This is geometry is not going to change. I will assume it. Area is not changing. This is not going to change. So what is going to change? Only the force is going to change. Okay. Then this type of equations are called as an analytical equations. Okay. Means I can now vary any number here and I can solve that equation. That is what the way we can do it. But in simulation, what it happens? So if I have a sum with respect to x, or I can say time, and I have a temperature or something. Okay. So this is typical behavior of it. Okay. Temperature variation of any kind. What I can do it, I can now divide into small chunks, and I am going to assume from this point onward to this point, it is in a straight line. This is what an approximation we are doing. Actually, this is not a typical behavior, but it is a approximate behavior. But it is giving a better results. That's what we accepted it. So this kind of a step-by-step simulation or step-by-step solving of the equation is called as a simulation. Okay. Then, if you look into any problem solving, so we'll find these steps. First of all, we'll define a problem, then mathematical equations. We'll get it through the data. Data means these are nothing but observations. Okay, I already told you these are the observations which are we do it, and this is nothing but it collects some data. And this input you are going to do it, and then you are comparing how these observations relate with my theories which are we developed with the way. Okay, so may have one, two, three, four, all these theories are there. Okay, out of that, then I will now decide which theory matches with this data, and then I will use this mathematical equation, and then I will now go on solving this. Okay, so to solve this, I may have different approaches. I may go for numerical techniques. I may go for analytical equations, analytically solve. If differential equation is there, if I'm going to directly integrate it. So it is called as a classical analytical method. If I'm doing in a small chunks like ordinary differential equation solving, RK method or kind of tools I'm using, then it is called as an approximate. And then I will now get some result in numbers, maybe in numbers or maybe in terms of graphs. Once I got these graphs, then I'm going to implement and I'm maybe using for further more detailed kind of applications. Okay. So this is what we'll take in a simple example, parachute example. Already you have gone through this video. Two times still I'm repeating for you. Okay. In parachute, one thing you can observe whenever you are doing in a modeling, my request is that what you want to get out of it, that is what in the first you need to identify what it is. Means I want to know what is the maximum velocity of this parachute is a possible. Can I say this parachute will go for an infinite velocity? Why? So there is maybe some reason. Reason is what? So there is a damping is there, then there is air is there. That's the reason there will be kind of a maximum velocity to reach, and beyond that it is not possible. Why it happens? Whenever this parachute is coming from certain altitude in downward direction, it is coming due to this downward force, that is mg. Okay, and obviously there is some force, that is what, an upward force due to the air resistance. Okay, it is there. If these two forces are equal, what will happen? There is no force acting on it because they are opposite each other. Means when force is zero, what the Newton's law says, force is equal to mass into acceleration. Means if this is zero, mass cannot be zero, acceleration will be zero. Acceleration means what? Change in the velocity. So I can say v1 minus v0 divided by time. So this difference is, time cannot be zero. This difference is zero. Means within two incident of time, my velocity variation is zero. Velocity is not changing at all. Means velocity becomes constant. So that is what it is there. That is the reason this example we have taken. Okay. So basically, these two forces get balanced. Okay. These two forces will get balanced, and that's the reason we'll get a constant velocity. But what is the value of that number? What is the value of that velocity? So that we want to identify it. So we can use, now we observe this. After observation, we came to know, yes, I need to apply this equation. That is theory. Right side I showed you data. Left side you have seen in theory. Okay. So now I can go on putting these equations. Downward force, upward force. Upward force I can consider as in C into V. Okay. Obviously it is in opposite direction. Then mass into G is a downward force. Now I can equate these two. Okay. Then dV by dt is equal to F by m. So this equation came from force is equal to mass into acceleration. And A is nothing but change in the velocity with respect to time. Okay. So this is nothing but another dV by dt. So then I put it like this. Then I can now substitute this and I will get this equation. This equation is called as an, what kind of an equation? It is an analytical equation. Okay. So what is the difficulty to get this? Now I can integrate this dV by dt with respect to time from 0 to maybe infinity or something, and I will get the equation as an v is equal to some function of some parameters. Understand? So this is what a way of doing the analytical equation. We done it. So from this point onward, we solved the equations, but we never brought it from that basic actual system to this point. So we missed somewhere this link in previous case. Now we are going to combine that link also in this link, and then we are going to understand how this mathematics is applicable in real life. Okay. So now we can just look at one thing. So we got this equation. Now I can make it more simplified. Then I can put this integration of it. After the integration, what will happen? I'll get this equation. Okay. So if you observe this equation, v is my velocity, which is depend on time. G is my constant, m is constant, c is constant. It is not varying. That is again our assumption. In actual practice, these are varying with a very little number. Okay, very little number, and then what are the variation is very small compared to this number. Okay, if I gave you the one scale of 1 meter, and I told that two scales having a hardly difference of these two scales is 1 mm, 1 meter in 1. There's hardly very small variation is there. You can't observe it by your eyes. So that is what it happens. That's what these C, G, M all are not considered to be constant. Why to consider the constant? Because variation is zero. Nothing is constant in this entire world. Okay. So here we got this equation, and you can now put this G, C, M and all these parameters, and then we can solve with respect to time. At time t is equal to 0, if I put it, G's 9.8. Normally mass is 60 to 70 kg or something. Okay. C, I will assume some value number. Okay, depends on air resistance. I can now go on putting T and B 0, 1, 2 like this. Okay, then I can now solve this. Okay, I can put this. C I considered as 12.5 kg per second. Mass is this. 15 then G is 9.8 something. Okay, then I can now substitute these values into this equation and I can get the solution. After somewhere 12 seconds, I will reach within 47 meters per second speed. Initially, your velocity was 0. Within 12 seconds, you reach to the speed of 47. And as I go on increasing this velocity, if I plot this, you will observe at a particular time, this velocity is not increasing, but it is remaining constant. This is what an observation. Okay. So you want to determine what is this observation. If I put this t infinite here, it is a t is equal to infinity. This becomes t infinity means what? E raised to infinity becomes, this becomes 0. Okay, this becomes 0 this entire time. Okay, we know GC, GMC. I can substitute and I will get this is what it is called as a terminal or maximum velocity in actuality. Okay, so once you got this, this is what in a simple analytical solution we have seen. Okay, so there is a basically difference what that numerical methods. Before moving to the numerical method, what I will do it, I will show you the how the differential equation is. Okay, differential equation means I have some y as a parameter which is depend on x is a function of x I can say. Okay, if I plot this t versus y, okay, so there may be a variation like this. Okay, but I want to put this in terms of an equation. Okay, this is what my practical variation is. So what I will do, I will now divide this. I will take one point here and another point here. Okay, I'll now, this is my, I will consider x equal to 0 here and here it should be x equal x0 or something. Here it is an x0 and I will say it is an x1. Okay, so now I want to join this point and this point within a straight line. Okay, I want to join these 2 points into a straight line. What I can do, I can have a slope of this. Slope means, how can I determine slope? Here my y1 will be there and here it is y0 will be there. y1 minus y0 upon x1 minus x0. This is my slope. Okay. Once I know this slope, slope is representing the rate of change. Rate of change of this particular variable. Rate of change of this particular variable. Sorry. Okay. And that is what, that rate of change, this rate of change, I can have this y0, y1 minus y0 upon x1 minus x0. This is nothing but the rate of change. Okay, now I want to get a perfect answer to this. If I take a slope here, I will actually predict the value at this point. Actual value is here. So this is nothing but a gap. Okay, this I can consider as an error for it. I want to reduce this error. How can I reduce? I can now reduce this step size. This x, this y, I will now reduce this delta x. And delta x is nothing but this y1 minus y0 divided by delta x. So that's what I will put up in a limit. This delta x will go to 0. This is what it is called as a difference equation, because difference equation, reason for your making a difference, finite difference. So this is what it is called as a differential equation because your difference is infinitely small. That is what an definition called differential equation. म्हणून dy by dx is considered as a differential equation and this is considered as a difference equation. Okay, so we are going to learn it into the finite difference also. How to convert this dy by dx into this. Okay, so once you've gone through this, then now I can have a simple approximation. So I know this delta t with respect to time. I know here vt I plus 1 and ti, and I will take a difference of it. I may be going to predict the value here somewhere, this number, okay, if I extend it. So this error I want to reduce it, I can go on reducing it. I can now put this into equations and this is what a typical definition for differential equation. Now I got a v ti plus 1 minus t and something. So this dv by dt, in previous equation we have seen one thing, this equation, this is dv by dt. Can I replace that with that equation? Yes, I can replace this. Okay. Now I will replace that equation. I will now write here dv by dt is equal to g something was that. I'll replace this particular part with this part and then I will now write once again this equation c by m into v of ti. And then I can now simplify. Here I know that value of this we know, initial condition. This final time you know it. Initial time you know it. Unknown is this. This is nothing but a one unknown left. And now I can separate this unknown on one side and I can solve. So I will get this equation. This is what it is called as a difference equation for this particular problem. The similar kind of a difference equation you have solved for the Laplace equation, so many other cases. Okay. So now you can just look into this. Okay. So I'll now take a 2 seconds of time difference. I will now go on at time t is equal to 0, my value will be 0, 2 is equal to this, 3, 4 is equal to this, and after putting an infinity, I will get this. I can go on doing this. What is the delta t here? 2 seconds. Okay, but if you compare this, okay, compare this with an analytical solution. So this is nothing but an analytical solution. Which one is more accurate now? It is an analytical solution. And your approximate solution. From this point onward, all approximate solution. These are more accurate. Okay, but most accurate is what? Practical observations. Okay, practical observations to your equations. Then you got an analytical equation. And these analytical equations are difficult to solve. That's what we made it more simplified. Then we came to the difference equation and then we are solving. Okay. So now with a step size of 2 seconds, here you can observe, here it is in a 16.4, here it is a 19.6. There is a big gap between these two numbers. Okay. So if I want to reduce this, what I can do it smaller steps, 0.5 steps. And if I put the 0.5 step, I got something 17 and here 16. Okay, as I am going to have a smaller and smaller step size, I will get a better and better accuracy. That is what I am making getting an accurate result with a more number of calculations. Okay, and then if I reduce one more time, okay, 0.01 second or something, somewhere I will get a most accurate kind of calculations. If you look at here, so I know this value and I am going to predict this value. Okay, so I have to have only 2 calculations. In this case, I have to do 4 calculations. In this case, I need to do 100 calculations or more than that, 200 calculations. Because obviously I am using more and more computer efforts to do this. So obviously it is not advisable to tell your computer so many calculations. So that's what there are certain techniques which will reduce this number of calculations to the smaller side and that is what it is called as a Runge-Kutta method will help us. We'll see what kind of a modifications they have done in mathematical, that is ODE solvers. Okay, this is what it is called as a simulation part and analytical simulation, analytical part. If you look into the now what kind of models we can create mathematically, there are kind of empirical models. If you open up a design data book, okay, PhD design data book, you'll find so many equations are there. What are those equations? They are not derived from the basic principles. Okay, they are converted that equation, or they got in a certain constants in the experiments, and that's what these are called as empirical models. Okay, if you look at beam strength of the gear or something, okay, there you can observe one thing: those equations are typically got within certain observations. They have done some experiment, and based on that, they got in some numbers and they put this equation. Okay, so these are called as based on experiments or based on some observations. These are empirical models, and under this empirical model, most of the stuff is called as an RSM. Okay, surface response methodologies. Okay, in means you are going to use an Taguchi technique, maybe using some curve fitting kind of a curve, and so many things you are going to do. You are going to derive the equations. You might have gone through some heat transfer equations, Nusselt number, Reynolds number, some constants with it, or maybe friction factors, determining friction factor. All these are nothing but either of the experimental model or either of the observational model. Okay, then if you look into the theoretical model, means it starts with a certain basic principle. It may starts with your Newton's law. Okay, Newton's laws of motion. Maybe it starts with some thermodynamics laws, maybe first, second, third, or some laws, and likewise you are going to derive that within a final equation, and that is what it is called as a theoretical. So in this, we are using mathematical equations. In this case also, you are using statistical techniques. If you have a huge number of data and you want to derive some equation out of it, and you are going to correlate with certain mathematical equation or mathematical principle, and then you are using statistical techniques. And some are computer based, like graph theory and so many other things. Okay, so we can look at different aspects of model. Okay, I can have a static model, dynamic model. What does that static model means, and what does that dynamic model means? So basically, if you look into the static model or something, already we had a discussion on the spring mass damper system. This is my mass, this is the spring, this is my damper. Okay, and I'm going to put up on a motor onto this. I'm going to put up on a one motor onto this, which will rotate with F and generate some of the unbalanced force. F is equal to F0 sine of omega t or something. Having a stiffness here, K, and this is fixed, and this is what an X displacement. Okay, so if I put this, I will now convert that into a simple free body diagram. What it is called as a free body diagram. Free body diagram means I am taking mass as it is separately. Okay, I am now disconnecting the spring, means that spring is generating some force. If I am disconnecting the spring, means it is going to generate the force like this. Okay, if I am disconnecting the damper, what is going to happen? I will get a C into X dot. Okay, third is, as this mass is moving with respect to this equilibrium position, so this is generating an mx double bond inertia force. Okay, and all these forces are balanced by this external force. Okay, now I can combine these all. This is 1, 2, then 3. This will become on one side mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx equal to my f. That is external force. That may, this force may not be all the time sinusoidal, maybe anything. We put it for simplification purpose. Okay. So now I got this equation. Just imagine here, look at काय होतंय? And now we will have we seen it mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx equal to f. Okay. In this case, we can see x is displacement, x dot is velocity, x double dot is acceleration. Okay. If my displacement is a very small, or with respect to time it is not changing much, velocity will not change much, and obviously acceleration will be less, 0. So if I this force, I'll now, this is a mass, then spring, then damper, and then this fix, I'm going to apply the force here. Okay. So if this x velocity, or with respect to this force, I can just plot one time with respect to time. This force is varying with respect to very slowly like this. Okay. And this is going to happen in 1 hour of time. Okay. Means within 1 hour it is not changing much, hardly. Maybe you are sitting on the chair, and then you are again getting up. So only these two steps in 1 hour. So it is very small frequency of it. Okay. But this you are using. So obviously, whatever the change in the velocity or acceleration is very small. You can't say it is in a very dominating value. So that's what this cannot be considered, and I can now remove these two things, and my equation becomes kx equal to f. Then it is called as a static equation. This is one way you can divide that particular thing, static model, and that. Okay. So another way, if you look into the one thing, this is what on a frequency omega upon omega n. Okay, range बाहेर गेल्यावर वाढतोय. Okay. So this is omega upon omega n, and this is magnification factor, or your equation mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx equal to your external force f0 sine of omega t. This omega is nothing but this, and omega n is nothing but your natural frequency, root over k by n. Okay. Your natural frequency will be 1. 1 means there is ratio will be 1 when my natural frequency matches with my external frequency. So it will start with an 1 here. Okay. Then it will go on increasing up to certain maximum value here, and then it will move like this. So if your frequency, input frequency is a very low, means if our input frequency is somewhere omega n by 3 or less than that, this also can be considered as a static model. Okay. Beyond this point, I can consider as a dynamic model, because with respect to now, one more important parameter is coming into the picture, omega. At this point, your omega is not much more dominating, it is on a less dominating. Okay. So beyond this point, your omega becomes more and more dominant, or frequency is taking into the contribution, it is contributing to change the amplitude or change the displacement of it. That's what it is called as dynamic. That's what we need to take in account of dynamic model. This is what the way you can have static model. I can write here kx equal to f is my typical static model for mechanical engineering. Then dynamic model means I can have an mx dot plus cx dot equal to k equal to f. This becomes dynamic. Then another one is a linear model and non-linear model. Okay, we'll take the same example, spring mass damper system. This is my mass, this is spring, and damper, and then mass, here it is an x. This is k and this is my c. I consider this k and c are constant. but actually it is not possible all the time. So if I look at with respect to x, my spring force, I will say it is in a spring force. I'll take this. This is going to generate on a spring force. So that's what I will plot the spring force versus x. And I will observe it will be in some way straight. Then slope of this curve is a k. And that's what we call it as in a stiffness. If this is what it is a linear, because it is behavior for this particular spring is linear. Sometimes may happen in this case x, my spring force may be varying in this fashion. This may happen. Will it? Can I consider everywhere the slope is same? No, I can't say. It is changing with respect to time. Similarly, my spring will be varying like this. So these are the called as in a soft spring and hard spring. First one is in a soft. This is what a hard spring, and this is what a soft spring. Why it is called as a soft? As I go on increasing the force, my displacement, amount of displacement is going to reduce. That's what it is called as a hard spring. And as I'm going to increase the force, my displacement is goes on increasing in larger amount, then it is called the soft spring. Behavior per by if you observe, that is frequency ratio curve, that is magnification factor curve for this. What will happen in linear spring? Your observation of this curve is like this. Okay, so if my spring is soft or hard, my curve will become like this, or my curve will become like this. So that behavior, entirely behavior or its performance will change. That's what this becomes in a non-linear. And this equation is to be now put into some equation. Here, how you are going to put this fs is k into x. But here, fs cannot be an a k into x. Now I can have an a k0 plus k1x plus k2x square or something. So it is not only depend on x, but it is also depend on square. It may depend on the cube, may depend on x is to 4 or something like this. Understand? That's what this becomes in a non-linear. Similarly, I can have a damping. This is a linear behavior. This I can say it is in a linear equation, and this are as a non-linear equation. Okay? Understand? So similarly, I can have a damping parameters. In damping parameter also, with respect to x dot now, my damping force. It is in a straight line and constant slope is like this. If I observe one thing, if I have this curve or this curve, this is a x dot and this is my damping force. Obviously, my pattern of the observation will be something different for this case. Then this becomes a non-linear case. Okay, and this is a linear case. So this is what the way you can divide your model into two parts: linear model and non-linear model. Okay. Then discrete model and continuous model. In discrete model, your discrete model is typically used in most of the electronic stack whenever you are collecting the data from some sensors. If I am going to collect the data from displacement sensor or encoder, I cannot collect the data at infinite steps of time. It will come with a fixed number of steps. Maybe 1 second I'm getting one data point, or maybe 1 microsecond, 1 millisecond. We are collecting the data in discrete time frame. That's what it is called, discrete. And if I'm collecting the data, then it becomes a continuous model. So here, most of the time, Z transform is used. What it is? Z transform. In this case, Laplace transform will be used to model this. Okay. Whenever we are going to deal with a control system, we observe that Laplace we are using. We most of the time avoid to use a Z transform. Z transform reason that whenever we are dealing with a discrete kind of systems, then we have to use a Z transform. Okay, then time dependent model, time independent model, both the models. Time independent means with respect to time, parameter of the system is not changed. Just take an example of your tire pressure or something. With respect to time, that pressure remains constant. So that is our observation. But when there is a small puncture or some hole is there on the tire, what will happen? As we time goes on progressing, that stiffness of the tire is going on because okay, a damping is going on because that is what it is, a time dependent and time independent. Same way you can observe one thing. There is a property called clipping. Clipping means as time goes on increasing, what will happen? With respect to time, the clipping property will change and your strength of the metal goes and decreases, even though you are applying the same kind of loading condition. So these are time dependent and time independent. Another one is deterministic model, means you can determine something. Another one, third one is in a probabilistic, means you are going to identify probability. Like just take an example. So we have 15 मिनट पाँच मिनट थांबे. In probability, what it happens when we are having just imagine in Karad we got 10 patients. After 5 days, how many patients will be there? I'll now predict these 10 patients on how many people they are contacting for how much time. And based on that, I will now predict after 10 days what will be the status of it. So that kind of modeling is called as a probability kind of probability model or something. So this is what a typical modeling I can we can do it. We'll discuss similar point